Good morning, Paul. It's Wednesday, the 12th of April. Here's the heads of brief for today. For the Southeast Asia production, we covered 13 issues. In North Asia, we covered 5, and for the Australasia and Pacific Islands, we covered 4. In South Asia, we covered 13 issues, plus the major issues in Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Okay, excellent. Go ahead with it.
In Indonesia, a terrorist and a guard were killed following an escape attempt at a detention center in Jakarta. Authorities had arrested 3 Uzbekistani terrorists who were supposed to be deported back to Uzbekistan. They were apparently trying to take refuge in Indonesia. The suspects are not connected to local terror groups.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's another indication of the security capacity in detention centres and indeed the limitations brought about by security forces that aren't adequately remunerated and have to earn funds to help their family with the basic necessities. Thank you.
In Thailand, in Bangkok, Khao San Road will be closed for vehicular travel from tomorrow until the 15th of April. This is ahead of the Thai New Year.
Okay, thanks very much. I mean, for our clients, we should be avoiding Khao San Road. There's a lot of unsavoury activities there. Yes, it's an incredible party if you're a teenager. If you're not a teenager, it's not worth the risk. It's a lot of crime there, drugs, prostitution, rackets, racketeers, extortions, drunken violence. Steer clear, thank you.
Right. In Myanmar, a military airstrike has killed at least 53 people in the Saigon region. According to some estimates, nearly 100 people have been killed, but there's no confirmation just yet.
There is confirmation now. The Myanmar government's actually come out publicly and stated they were hitting a armed group. There's still no confirmation of the actual fatalities, but it would stand to reason that it is consistent with the airstrikes and with the government's announcement. Thank you.
Yeah. In Papua New Guinea, Prime Minister James Marape announced that the country will receive 55% of the total benefits from the Wafi copper gold project in Morobe province. This is after the government has signed a framework memorandum of understanding between the state and the project partners.
Yeah, look, so obviously Wafi Golpu is an enormous project in the Morobe province. Harmony Gold Mining and Newcrest are the partners on it. This is basically 3 ore bodies that rivals the enormous resources at Freeport, which has now been getting mined for over 50 years and used to be the biggest mine in the world and now is the largest underground mine in the world and still has at least 30 years operations in it. Wafi Golpu is not the actual ore bodies, when you look at a cross-section, is not as big as Grasberg and Ertsberg. However, all up, they rival it in terms of more ore bodies, same kind of profile. So I need you to just have someone of your team send me a separate email on this, just of what you've said there, because I need to just run it by some of the people in PNG to verify, is this a Marape PR twisted announcement, or are they actually getting close to production? Because it's been lingering on like a resilient number in 10 and 11 that just won't get out, and PNG needs a Winnema board to actually show it can do business with foreign partners under the Marape government. Thank you.
Great, we'll get the details for you, Paul. Moving over to South Asia, there's ethnic tensions in India in West Bengal. Members of the Kurmi community have been holding a statewide agitation over the last week to demand tribal status and recognition of their religion and language. They blocked railways and roads in some areas. Discussions yesterday failed to reach a resolution, so protests could continue in the coming weeks.
All right, just keep an eye on that, and we may need to do an alert if it starts to impact the businesses, okay?
Right. We'll keep an eye out. In Bangladesh, a leader of the militant Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army was killed in a gunfight in a refugee camp in Cox's Bazar yesterday. Now, this comes amidst the increase in criminal and militant activities in the refugee camps over there.
Okay, thank you.
Lastly, the Sri Lankan government has postponed the upcoming local elections for the second time. They were supposed to be held on the 25th of April. The election commission has not yet announced a new date. They cited a lack of funds for the delay.
Okay, and do you think it is lack of funds, or do you think it's more likely to be politically based?
I think it's politically based.
Okay, thanks.
In the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region, officials from the Netherlands are holding security talks in Beijing. Now, this comes after France and China have also recently held talks.
Okay, fantastic. I mean, this is a fascinating part of global history as Beijing starts to not only project itself using the Belt and Road Initiative, but now it's actually conducting diplomacy. France, now the Netherlands, and of course BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperative Organization. So this is a fascinating period. Now, obviously, American hegemony was going to last for some time, but I think we're seeing the first paths being laid, indeed, massive concrete highways being laid to ensure that shortly we're going to see a different global geopolitical and even geo-economic landscape. Simply put, China's going to be rivaling America for diplomatic power globally. And I think the quicker America works that out and changes its approach, will be in their best interest. I'm just not sure whether the manic nature of the over-empowerment of their public service and Capitol Hill allows for change. I think America's gone from extremely great nation to some very arrogant intelligence agencies and even more arrogant politicians, and a whole toxic State Department that tries to dominate all the global institutions and pretend they're not an American institution. IMF, World Bank, United Nations, and the list goes on. Thanks.
Right. The British government has warned of risks to the safety of patients as junior doctors have started a massive 4-day strike across the country. This involves nearly half of the country's medical workforce. They're striking over the cost of living crisis.
Okay, interesting that doctors should be striking about costs of living. Thank you.
In Africa, a Singapore-registered tanker was boarded by suspected pirates off the Ivory Coast yesterday. The AIS beacon hasn't turned off, and authorities have deployed vessels, but they can't find it thus far.
Okay, please get me the name of the ship and more information and send it to my WhatsApp or email. Thank you.
Sure, we'll do that. And lastly, in Congo, the state mining company has secured $75 million in funding. This is to build a new unit for producing materials for semiconductors. The unit will produce alloys including copper cathodes, cobalt hydroxide, silver concentrates, and zinc oxides.
Okay, thanks very much for that. Look, one point I wanted to draw to your attention that I'm getting through the closed circuit network. Getting reports from the highlands of Papua that locals have been told by the TPNPB to repudiate all missionary presences, but the locals in the specific area, and I'll give you more detail later, have resolved to fight against the TPNPB. Now, it's ironic that TPNPB are quoting they want freedom, but their own people are prepared to fight against them. And sadly, the military are not showing much resolve to fight against the TPNPB. They're more interested in milking the country for resources. But if the Papuans decide to fight the TPNPB, their biggest challenge is going to be the military and the police stopping them from actually securing their own nation, because police and army want to milk it for resources. Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks a lot for the brief. Anything else from you?
No, cheers.